Yo, the NBA season is starting on December 22nd, which is like only 72 games, man. And down from 82. What do we think of this? How are the players going to react? How are the coaches going to react? What is this season going to look like? I'm going to let you guys go off with it. All right, my man, Shaman, you're good to go, bro.
This is just this is a lot. It's a lot to take in, man. The I honestly didn't see, what do you call it, the NBA, like, starting the season so damn early. Like, I would have thought they would have pushed it off until, like, later on in, like, in like the January. But that one caught me off guard. And just, yeah. What about you, Aray?
Yeah, honestly, I agree with you. I think the main thing that players are having a problem with is that it's the shortest off season that I think in the entire history of the NBA. So a lot of
Really?
players didn't. Yeah, it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. It's only
yeah. I don't know
2
if you've
months, right?
seen, but yeah, LeBron reacted to it, and obviously he won championships, so he's kind of like I don't give a shit type of phase. So
Yeah.
yeah, but a lot of the other players that weren't invited to the bubble, it's probably been their longest off season. So
Wait, time
that's just
out.
my take on it. Yeah, what's up?
All right, so timeout. So like December 22nd is when the season's starting, right? Is that including like the training camp and like, the preseason, or are they not having a preseason this year? Does anyone know?
Honestly, that's a good question. I honestly don't know.
Okay, because usually they have a preseason. They have like they have like NBA summer games and everything like that. I guess they took out the summer games this year. But still like preseason, that's there for like players to start ramping up their activity and stuff like that. So like I think it's gonna be a really interesting dynamic because like we have players like who need their time to warm up, right? And we also have players who like to jump right into the action. But I feel like it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that's going to play out, because if they just start the season off the jump, I feel like a lot of teams are going to have bad chemistry. But I mean, that's just my take. I might be wrong.
To be honest though, if the season comes back, I know LeBron fans are gonna be like, if the Lakers lose, they're gonna make the excuse, oh, LeBron didn't get enough rest, and whatnot. So there's always that excuse. But I'm excited to see the Golden State back. I want to see the Splash Bros so badly. They haven't been playing for like 2 years now, ever since the Raptors won the championship.
Oh, God, okay.
So.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
So I think the reason the season is starting on December 22nd and they couldn't really push it back is because Christmas is a pretty big day in terms of just like the NBA season. They have all the marquee games on that day. If they pushed it back too much more, they probably would have lost like a bunch of money. So with the season starting on the 22nd, I believe the draft is on the 18th.
Wow.
Of the previous month. So there's only like 2 or 3 weeks until like they go to training camp, which I'd assume would be at like the beginning of December. So I think the reason it's going to be a very like quick free agency period, which is probably, in my opinion, going to be the most interesting thing about this whole off season.
Yeah, 100%. Like definitely like a lot more pressure now on teams just to like get the deal done. You know what I mean? I feel like that's going to be It's definitely going to be a free agency with all the free agents and player options and club options and everything that we're looking at. I feel it's going to be definitely like interesting off season. Very interesting.
Yeah, and just to add on to that dynamic, one thing I'm really concerned about is, so it's obviously not going to affect all the players, but if you have a shorter preseason or training camp, if you just look at the NFL, a lot of those players are getting injured, and a lot of them are non-contact injuries just because they haven't had time to warm up. So yeah, I just hope it doesn't.
No, my bad.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I was just saying, I hope that it doesn't translate to the NBA with this whole thing. So that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like there was a point in time where the NBA, like, they had a shorter preseason and then players were getting injured and then they increased the preseason. Might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how it was. Like, they increased the preseason just to like mitigate a lot of the injuries that were occurring. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see like how long the preseason is gonna be, because all we know is that December 22nd is when the season's starting.
Man, teams like Clippers don't even have to worry. They're gonna just load manage their players and they'll be fine. There's 72 games to warm up. So
No. Man, I don't even want to get into the LA Clippers, bro. It's yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, so that's the December 22nd season start. What else do we want to talk about? We got 2K21 player evaluations. We got specific team futures. We got trade rumors. What do you guys want to do?
Let's talk about free agency. There's so many nice players. Well, yeah, there's some nice players on the market, in my opinion, with player
100%.
options, with free agency.
100%.
Yeah, well, for example, Goran Dragic, I think he needs to sign with Heat ASAP because they need him. The Heat love him. Jimmy Butler loves him. I love him. It was amazing to watch him play. I really wish he got to play the entire final, so that'll be an interesting thing to see.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I agree. Goran Dragic, he was phenomenal, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, the thing is, like, as a person who's been playing fantasy for a long time, or at least for like 3 years, right? I have some experience, right? Just a little bit. But like, you know, Goran Dragic, one of those players, like when he plays good. But like a lot of the season, he's just like ankle injury or like hyperextended arm or something like that. And it's so unfortunate that, like, you know, a player of his caliber, of his ability, right? We saw what he could do. Like, he was tearing up like teams, bro. Like, he was tearing up the Celtics. He was pretty good against the Lakers, even though like he was injured for a bit. But I feel like it'll be. I want him back on the Heat. If the Heat want to make a run at the finals again, they need to sign him again.
Do you think the Heat can make a run to the finals even with them, though? With their team the way it's built?
Honestly,
I mean,
okay, go.
no,
go.
I
You got
mean in the starter in the season, right? He wasn't even a starter. It was mostly Kendrick Nunn. I think his importance came when it was time for the playoffs. But yeah, no, I agree with you guys. Like, I really want to see Dragic re-sign with the Heat. But in terms of fit, I feel like if the Bucks if the Bucks can't resign or sign or trade for a better point guard, I feel like his best fit would be on the Bucks. And he's getting up there in age, so
Nah, I don't think he's going anywhere, bro. He's coming back to the Heat, man. Jimmy Butler's gonna make sure he's back on the Heat.
Yeah.
No. I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that in terms of fit, it would be nice, like for the Bucks at least, to try to acquire him. And knowing Dragic, he would probably resign. But he's also probably looking for a contender, and I just see a good fit with him on the Bucks.
Yeah, well, the Heat contended. The Heat
Wait,
literally contended.
Just contended.
The Heat literally contended.
Yeah, but listen. I don't know.
Contender. Bro, this man.
I'm saying if not the Heat, he's looking for another contender. That's what I was saying.
Okay,
1 million
well,
IQ.
I'll just
My
say
man
that.
went big brain time.
I'll just say this: Goran Dragic got the best of Fred VanVleet. Speaking of Fred VanVleet, I'm gonna go to my resident Toronto Raptors fan. How you feeling about the VanVleet?
Man,
yeah, he's free agent, right?
He needs to come back to Toronto. Toronto has a lot of cap space as well, so I think Toronto's gonna resign him no matter what. We love him in Toronto, so Steady Freddy can't leave us. I think he fits around the team as well, like defensively. Like, there's a lot of other players to help him out. I honestly don't think he would be as good of a player in other teams as he is in Toronto. I think they both complement each other, player and team wise. So I think it would be the smart move for him to come back.
I don't see any reason for him not to go back to Toronto. Besides, like,
Money.
Pascal Siakam spin move.
No, dude, it's obvious, bro. Money, bro. One of these third-party teams that no one really cares about. Let's be honest, like the Knicks or even
Bro, I was just gonna say that.
honestly, like, okay, I think all of us here can agree. Even my designated Brooklyn Nets fan can agree. The Knicks suck booty cheeks, bro. Like, everyone says, oh, you know, this superstar's coming to freaking the Knicks, right? That happened with KD. That happened with Kyrie. That happened with Kawhi. The Knicks want everyone, but the best they got was like, who's that? Alonzo Trier, bro. Like, it's so sad, bro. I feel so bad for the Knicks, but at the same time, I just hate their fan base, dude.
Dude, oh my god.
What fan base?
yeah, that's tough, man.
Dude, okay, let's not beat up on the Knicks too hard. Like, they got, like, you know, a lot of big men on there, so I'm pretty sure they're looking for a big guy, not a small guy like Fred VanVleet. Speaking of big men, let's go to our devoted Clippers fan. How are you feeling about Montrez?
So I don't think he's gonna be back on the team next year.
Really? Okay.
For a few reasons. first off, like they probably won't be able to afford him at what he's going to be asking for. He's probably going to make anywhere from like the 12 to like 16 million range, or who knows, maybe he takes like a short-term deal, like a 1-year deal for like a lot, and then becomes a free agent next offseason. But they probably won't be able to afford him, and he's probably not on their highest list of priorities. It probably goes Marcus Morris and then Jermichael Green, and then if they have enough and if he's willing to take like a certain amount, they might bring him back. Not to mention if he was back on the team next year, it would only make sense for him to take a smaller role, considering what you saw in the playoffs from him.
Yeah.
Charlotte could maybe. There's not a lot of teams that have like a big amount of cap room this offseason.
Mhm.
Detroit's one of them. Charlotte, Atlanta just signed Clint Capella, and they also have John Collins, so it wouldn't make sense for them to get him unless he's coming off the bench in a smaller role. And Charlotte will probably draft James Wiseman, so I really don't know where he's going to be next season. He might be in Toronto. I just hope he's not back on the Clippers next year.
Yeah. Okay, so
Go
my
ahead.
bad. You go ahead. Sorry.
Go for it.
Okay. So one thing that I've been reading is like, because I think Kawhi, he has a 3-year deal, right? Am I wrong? Or does he have 3 years?
Yeah. So he has one more year left right now. So
Right.
he has one more
And
year than a player option.
player option. Okay. So do you think the Clippers are going to blow it up if they don't get to the finals next season?
No. I think the only guy that's untouchable on their roster if they don't like have like deep playoff success this upcoming season is Kawhi. After that, I think Paul George probably becomes available if he struggles again in the playoffs. At that point, I think like everything's off the table. Like anybody but Kawhi. If he leaves, like the team is probably going to be as bad as the Nets used to be.
Hey.
Oof.
Okay. All right. Well, going with that energy from one former Clip to another one. How are we feeling about my man Danilo Gallinari?
He needs to go to Dallas. Dallas needs a sharpshooter like him, and I think he'd do amazing there.
I feel like
yeah.
he's
Yeah,
good
but-
in a small role. Like he's a great player, right? But then he always has that those nagging injuries, like a pulled hamstring or something like that. It's never like something serious, like he tore his ACL or something. But it's like small injuries that always keep him off the team, or not on the court. I feel like any team, or like you're saying Dallas, like they need a sharpshooter, or like maybe even the Bucks because they need to surround Giannis with more shooters, right? Like as long as he has a small role, I feel like, or at least a smaller role than what he's been given in the past, I feel like he'll do great.
All
I
right.
mean, yeah, the Dallas would give him a perfect role. Like he wouldn't be in the bench, and I don't think he wants to play off the bench. But like he'd be a starter. He'd be behind Luka. He'd be behind Porzingis, and I'm hoping that they're all healthy. And like also Dallas is like a very international team, you can say. I think he'd get along with the players on Dallas, and I think they would have great chemistry with him.
Yeah.
All right, going from one big ass forward to another one. How are we feeling about Christian Wood? And honestly, I don't know much about this dude, so I'll let you guys do a majority of the heavy lifting on this dude.
Christian Wood, he was on the Pistons. Right?
Pistons, yeah.
Bro, I'm gonna say it straight up, man. As a Celtics fan, I would love to see him on the Celtics. He's basically like he can play the center and he can play the power forward and he can shoot the ball really well. He can rebound the ball really well.
Yeah.
I would love to see him on the Celtics. He's definitely a great player. I'm gonna be honest. I don't watch any Piston games because let's be honest, it's the Pistons. But from what I've seen, he's a very good player. And there are reports that he wants out of from the Pistons. So hopefully the Celtics can get him. But
I think he just wants that money, and I don't see the Pistons investing in him like that. So there's a team that gives big men a lot of money, New York Knicks. So you can go there.
Hey.
The thing is,
a lot of Knicks slander today. I'm sorry to the Knicks fans.
I'm not.
RP in the chat. Yo, like, didn't he like post like a picture like on his Instagram story, like where should I go or something like that?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he did, and like he got like, or like a lot of fans were like, "What the hell is this?" Like they were confused. But then again, like, why would the Pistons get rid of him? Right? They got rid of Andre Drummond because they wanted like more money and they wanted to free up cap space, and like they got some picks off of him or whatever, right? And like, what would be the point of them giving away or like not signing Christian Wood again? You know what I mean? Because I feel like they need a center right now, right? Like they don't have like like people to play the center position right now. And Christian Wood is like one of those players who's had some experience with Detroit and everything.
So Christian Wood's a pretty interesting player because this past season, after Drummond was traded, so the season I believe he only started 12 games, and after he started, he put up some pretty solid stat lines. Most of them were in losses because Detroit's not the best team. He had a game where he had 30 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists. He had a game where he hit 5 threes, so he can shoot it. An interesting place for him is it's funny because he was actually on the team. The Pelicans would be pretty interesting with him. Like Aray mentioned earlier, he can play the 4 or the 5, so he can play in your front court with Zion, and he could space out and give Zion that space. Really, any team could use him, but he's probably going to get paid like a solid amount, so that might put him out of the price range of like the contending type teams.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think like one of the middling teams will probably give him like a pretty huge payday. But I'd like to see him on the Pelicans again. I think that'd be very cool.
Okay, to be honest, he was amazing as a fantasy player. He put up some big numbers for whoever had him. I forget who it was, but
Yeah, that was me.
yeah, you picked him up real quick when he was going off. But to be honest, though, he was playing for the Pistons, and I think he only got those big numbers because who else was gonna do it? Like Pistons don't really have anybody.
Excuse me. Did you forget about Reggie Jackson? No, I'm sorry.
Oh,
He's not even on the
He got traded.
I don't know what you're talking about, but anyways, yeah. So, and on top of that, NBA is like a small man's league now, so I don't think. Yeah, sure, he can stretch the floor, but I don't see him doing much on any other team. He just become a role player, and I hope he can accept that role, or else he's going out of the league. Like he's not gonna do much as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of not being in the league much longer, well, I hope this is not true, but my man Melo, how are we feeling about him, guys?
Melo goes re-sign with Portland. They welcomed you after the entire league threw you out. He needs to re-sign with Portland. He still has a lot of potential.
He does.
I think he comes up real big in the clutch, and I think Portland with Melo is just a great fit. If he wants to go for money, I mean that's what ruined his career in the first place by going to New York and just chasing the bag. In my opinion, I feel like it ruined his legacy, but. I mean, he can still go for the money and go back to New York because I've heard rumors that New York wants him back. But
why would they?
Why?
See, this is what I'm talking about, bro. Knicks want everyone, bro. They want everyone. This is literally like the perfect example. Knicks want everyone, bro. It's unfortunate.
I think it's because he's a marketable player, so that's one reason why. But yeah, I really hope he resigns with Portland because they did a lot to bring him onto the team, and so if he leaves. That'd be kind of messed up in my opinion.
So do you think he deserves that starting position, or do you think he'd be better if he was coming off the bench? Like on any team. On any team. Like regardless if it was like the Portland Trailblazers or like any team. Because in my opinion, I feel like he could be a good starter, right? But then there's obviously like glaring problems with his defense, right? He's not the best defensive player.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. His defense was amazing. He's a big guy. I mean, he was playing the forward last season. I think he's really good defensively. He might have his flaws. He's not like the best defender, but I don't think he's a bad defender. I think that was like when he was younger, he was a really good offensive player. Like he had the same reputation as James Harden, but I think he was a good player, a defensive player, in my opinion.
Okay. That's your opinion. That's your talent.
So, I think a bench role kind of suits him best currently. Like you said, ideally, like a team that has Melo, like a good team, has him coming off the bench because he can take a lot of the shots off the bench and he can still score the ball. That's something he's still pretty solid at. So, I mean, a bench role for him probably suits him best, just coming off the bench, playing against the bench players and putting up some buckets. But like you said earlier, he's not like I don't think he's that great of a defender anymore. And putting him against like starting level players for starting minutes, that doesn't usually bode well for teams when they're trying to be successful.
He's like Dwayne Wade on his final season. He sometimes started, I think, but most of the time he was off the bench.
So I think his best fit would be like on a contention team, and then like playing that very minimal role, but still being there, like still being like
Portland.
a
Portland's perfect for him.
Portland is attempting to contend. I honestly don't think most teams would take a risk on him, man. Like, I mean, he's an awesome player, but just there's a lot of baggage that just comes with the dude, man.
yeah
I feel bad. So,
yeah.
all right, let's move this in. Let's move this to my favorite player on this list, Davis Bertans. Man, this dude is a freaking
He's
sniper. He's a sniper.
sniper, bro.
Milwaukee.
Quick scope.
I think he should go to Milwaukee.
Milwaukee should chase him. Milwaukee definitely should chase him. I
I
feel
think
like
he's.
if you. Oh wait, go ahead.
I think he's going to be another one of those players that gets like a pretty sizable deal from like one of the middling teams. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Washington tried to re-sign him for like a solid amount. So I think that again might put him out of the range for a lot of these contending teams that are up near the salary cap. But yeah, Milwaukee, that would be very interesting. Him playing next to Giannis. Like you could in the playoffs, you could put Giannis at the 5 and have him stretching out the floor as your 4. He's not like a great defender, but I mean when you're providing that much space and shooting ability, I don't really think that matters.
Yeah, but like it's the type of shooting ability that he has, which I like. Like he's not one of them like stretch fours that just like can stay in the corner, like when you need him to be while Giannis is spinning it to quadruple teams. If you give him off ball action, that dude runs into a shot and like goes for the 3-pointer. That
Yeah.
like going for an off ball as well as a stand up game. That's why I like that dude because I see him shooting. I'm like, dude, this dude's out here like taller Klay Thompson. So props to the dude.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, his form is beautiful. One thing that really triggered me like this last offseason was when the Spurs traded uh Davis Bertans. The thing was that, or not traded, like they got rid of like Davis Bertans. The thing that really got me mad was like they were freeing up cap space to sign Marcus Morris. Okay, and then Marcus Morris was like, all right, I'm gonna sign with the Spurs. And then he's like, never mind, I was just capping. Let me sign with the New York Knicks, the best team in the league. And I was like, what do you do? Like, that's what got me mad because like Davis Bertans was a really good shooter, and the way that the Spurs are right now, they need people who can shoot and actually play. Bryn Forbes, he's a great shooter, but he cannot play defense. His defense is horrendous. Every single player that watches Spurs will say, yeah, Bryn Forbes needs to work on his defense. But still, that was one thing that got me mad. And I know there are a few people in this chat that have something to say about the Spurs. So, I mean, if we want to go down that
We'll
route,
talk about that
I'm
a
ready.
little bit later. There's a
I'm
few more
ready.
free agent players that we gotta talk about.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. Well, the opposite of Davis Bertans, my man Millsap. Anyone want to take a hot take on him? Anybody?
Yeah, I got you. So with
MVP
Millsap,
next season. Sorry.
he can really go down two different routes. So one of the first routes he can go down is if he wants to go for a contending team, which assuming he doesn't have a ring, right? I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, I don't think he does.
He doesn't.
Yeah, so he'd want to go into a contending team. I can see him re-signing with the Nuggets. He already got the bag, so I can see him, signing for less. I can also see him going to the Jazz or honestly any other of the contending teams. That's one route he could take. The other route is if I'm not sure how much more he has left in the bag, but I'm sorry, in the tank, but because he is getting up there in age. But if he wants, kind of do like a Vince Carter like thing, and go to a team like the Bulls or the Memphis Grizzlies, and kind of play off the bench and take on that leadership type of role. I mean, that veteran presence. He could do something like that. So those are the two routes I think he can go down.
I mean, he can stay in Nuggets and do that with Jokic. So I think that's
Yeah.
I feel like playing with Jokic really like put his value down because like when he was signing with the Nuggets, like I feel like he had a lot more hype around him. But the way like Jokic just like started blowing up and like became such a premier player in the league, I feel like it kind of put his value down. I might be wrong, but that's just the way I see it. I mean, I think he should sign with the Denver Nuggets because like he played that solid role alongside Jokic and everyone. So I agree he should be signed with the Nuggets.
I agree. Speaking of, I guess a good power forward fit with one team. How are we feeling about Serge Ibaka? What's up with that?
Well, let me talk about Serge Ibaka.
Oh, please.
I love Serge Ibaka. He did amazing for the Toronto Raptors. Man, he was great energy off the bench. I still don't understand why Marc Gasol got more playing time, why he would start half these games because Ibaka was so much better. But
I think
know,
it's just IQ, ball IQ, in my opinion. I think
man,
that's
I don't care about no ball IQ. He was playing like 30, bro. Basically, for the people who don't know that shit. So Ibaka, I think he was great for the Raptors, but I just feel like he's getting a little bit too old. I would like Montrez to take his place on the Raptors. I think
really.
that'd be a better fit. Honestly, I think so. I think
Wow.
he'd be a
Nice.
great replacement for
You know-
Ibaka. Anyways, I think Ibaka should go to Houston Rockets. Reunite with Brody and James Harden. I think that would be amazing.
That'd be interesting. That'd be very interesting. Because
So-
they need a big man,
That's
right?
space for him. Yeah, they need a
They-
big man, and I think
they need a
Ibaka would be amazing as a big man.
So,
Honestly, go ahead.
Ibaka, he actually I looked at his playoff numbers from this past postseason, and they're actually pretty great. In 22 minutes a game, he scored 14.8 points. He got 7.7 rebounds. He blocked 1.3 shots. He shot 57% from the field, which is pretty good, and he shot 51% from three, which is like lights out shooting. Really, any team could use him. He fits really anywhere. He can either play as your backup center, or if you need to go big, he can play your four because he can shoot. The Raptors could use him. I think he's better than Marc Gasol now, and I think he could either close for you as your five, or he can play off your bench. The Pelicans, another team. I mean, obviously he'd be good there, but I doubt he wants to go to anything but a contending team. The Clippers and Lakers probably don't have a chance unless he wants to take like the 1-year mid-level exception deal. But I think he has a lot of options with how he played in the postseason.
Yeah, I agree. I
agree.
think, yeah, honestly, I kind of say it better myself.
Honestly, okay, if I'm gonna be honest, I feel like he would not fit with the Toronto Raptors. The way that they're playing ball now. The reason
Wait,
why
what?
Serge
What are you talking about? He just fit great last season. How can he just all of a sudden not
No,
fit well with the team?
I said for Montrez.
Oh,
to be on the
Montrez.
Raptors. Because the thing is that both Mark and Serge Ibaka can stretch the floor. Montrez cannot stretch the floor, like at all, right? And I'm pretty sure my man Kyle can agree, bro. Like this man, like he plays, like when he has his moments, he's good, but you know the way like the niche that he fills is very specific, and he can't stretch the floor like a lot of like bigs can these days.
Yeah.
So I
what
feel
is
like a very
Pascal
specific-
Siakam gonna do when he spins into the lane and Montrez girls there waiting
Who
for
are we
him?
gonna pass it out to?
No, Siakam's trying to become like Giannis, man. He thought he was Giannis in the playoffs, doing his ballerina spin. So.
Yeah.
No,
Bro,
Maybe if he gets a little bit bigger, he can do that successfully. But
bro,
Nah, he's
bro,
out here-
shut up, bro.
bro, he's out here
Siakam
trying
is
to.
garbage, bro.
Yo, Siakam's out here trying to make his own gravitational like field, like by trying to
yo,
spin
y'all
around so
hurting
damn
me,
often.
man. Siakam's a champion, bro. I don't know what y'all talking about.
He's garbage, man. I'm not gonna even get into it, bro. But he's
One
honestly
year, man. It
garbage,
was
bro.
one playoff game or series.
It's a pretty
Okay,
big
okay,
one.
I get that, but let's be honest. Ibaka like clearly outplayed him, man. Like not just Marc Gasol, but he outplayed Siakam too.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
My thing with Ibaka is Ibaka's gonna want that money, and I don't know. I feel like he's getting older. I think like as long as it's not like a 3-4 year contract, I think Raptors can sign him back. I don't mind Ibaka coming back, but I think he shouldn't be signed back in my opinion.
That's fair. Okay, let's try to move into player options, and there's some pretty big names on here, and I want y'all's input. So, Anthony Davis. Well, how y'all feeling?
I wonder where he's gonna sign. That's
Yeah, I think he's gonna resign. In all honesty,
why would he not resign? He's playing with his boy, and he's winning hella games. They're hella good. Why would he not resign?
yeah, no, I agree with you. The only other reason he wouldn't resign is if he, wants to go down that. Oh, I already have a championship. Let's go to a different team and contend there to see how I can do, like how my legacy is. Kind of like that Kyrie.
I don't think.
Yep,
he's not that
absolutely
type of
not.
guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
not.
exactly.
Worked out great
Yeah.
for Kyrie. Worked out great for Kyrie.
All right, let's not
Yeah,
waste.
you don't know.
Let's not waste our breath on this because we all know he's going back there. Like,
Yeah,
Let's go to a few spicier ones. Gordon Hayward. What's going on, Aray?
Yo, I'm gonna flame this man, yo.
Let's go.
I know. Aray doesn't even like it himself. Like, like he said it himself. Like, ever since he's had that injury, like where he broke his like ankle or whatever, he's never been the same player. In my opinion, I feel like he needs to be in a position where he's given more. Now, I know this is kind of a hot take because the Celtics are a great contending team, right? The thing is, I feel like he's undergoing that one, like type of mental state where he's like, I have a good team. If I don't perform good, my teammates will, carry me. My teammates will do the work for me. And I feel like if he was in a position where he needed to do more, I feel like he'd get some of his
I don't think he
his
can do more. I honestly
I
don't
think he
think
could.
can.
I think he could. Like, because it happens to like players or at least it's happened to some of my teammates
Man,
where like
he's
they don't
too busy playing Fortnite, man.
try. Speaking of Fortnite,
Yeah.
like that's what I'm talking about. Like some people won't try as hard just because they know I have a good teammate. He can do the rest for me. I don't have to try that hard. And
Do
I
you
feel
relate?
I can.
I
That's what I'm
remember
trying. I
hearing
feel like
you.
that's the same thing with Gordon Hayward. That's what I think. But I'm
Um,
probably wrong. That's what I think.
yeah, no. Honestly, as a Celtics fan, I've paid pretty close attention to Hayward, and I've got nothing but respect for him. It's not easy going through that type of injury. Honestly, in both people's the Celtics and Hayward's interest, it's best if he moves on, just because he can go have a clean slate somewhere else, and it'll also free up the Celtics
Not in
money.
his best interest. What are you talking about? He's gonna miss
Yeah,
out on
no,
money. He's gonna miss out on
dude,
money.
listen. He's already getting a bag, bro. But sometimes, like, it's not all about money. Some like let him go somewhere else. Let him go back home to Indiana. Let him go somewhere else, and get that clean.
You mean it's all about the money, bro? It's always all about the money.
Even
Why do you think the NBA is coming back on the 22nd? Because it's about the money.
Facts. Like even if he did, right? Like even if he said, "Oh, I want to go to a title contending team," he's on a title contending team. Like there would be if he's willing to accept like a lower payday because, like God knows, bro. Like this man did not work for the contract he signed the Boston Celtics. Like he did not work for that money, bro. And if he just wants to resign for a smaller role, I feel like that'd be great for him.
That's a little unfair to him. I mean, he did work for that money, then he just ended up getting hurt in his first game, like a freak injury, and from then it hasn't really been the same. But I mean, he's on the last year of his deal. He possibly could opt out and get like a long-term deal worth like slightly less per year. That would make sense in like a long-term standpoint. And if he's on the Celtics, I think his best outcome or his highest ceiling is like a backup wing off the bench, unless they want to put him at the 4 and Tatum and Brown at the 2 and 3.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, Celtics is a pretty good choice, but who else is willing to sign a dude? Given his previous performance, given his current performance, and with the injury that he had taken, which I still feel bad about, but we'll see. All right. We're gonna ask our resident Spurs fan, how are we feeling about my man DeRozan?
I feel like there's a lot of speculation about DeMar DeRozan. There was like this report that came out that DeMar DeRozan wants to be out of San Antonio, and then like DeMar DeRozan like posted like a video on his Instagram story where he's like, me trying to figure out who said that shit or when I said that shit, right? And I don't know, like the same thing happened with Kawhi, kind of, right? Kawhi doesn't have social media, but who's that one guy? The guy who got scored 81 points on by Kobe.
Jalen Rose.
Yeah, Jalen Rose. He was like, Kawhi's played his last game as a Spurs, right? And right after that, they asked Kawhi, like, do you want to resign with the Spurs or do you want to end your career with the Spurs? And then Kawhi was like, yes. So it might be like a game of who's right and who's wrong, and my word versus your word or something like that. But I feel like the Spurs need to do something, man. Like they have good pieces, they're not the right pieces for the team that they have. Like you have like the mid-range game. Your shooters are okay. Your defense is okay. But like the way if you look at individual player stats, they're okay, right? But when you try to put those pieces together, they need to make a proper team that, masks some of your teammates, problems, right? DeJounte Murray, he's a good player. He's a good defensive player. He can't shoot that well, right? Bryn Forbes, great shooter, can't play defense, right? DeMar DeRozan, mid-range guy. LaMarcus Aldridge, mid-range guy. And I feel like with the way that the team is set up right now, it's not a title contending team. Now, that's just my opinion. As a Spurs fan, I hate to see them go through this after having so many years of sustained success. Like, it's really sad, bro. Like, they didn't make the playoffs this season. And, I could argue that they could have made it if Elliott was there, but, it shouldn't always be that you rely on one guy, and if that one guy isn't there, then you won't make the playoffs.
Bro, how you gonna talk about
That's
the
just my
Spurs and
opinion.
not have Derek White in there? That's fucked up.
No, like that's what I'm saying. Like Derek White is another one of those guys. Like, he's a good defensive player. He can shoot. But then again, there's like this whole thing of ego. I feel like there's a really big ego thing going on the Spurs team right now. Like, I remember there was one point last season where, Derek White was starting over DeJounte Murray for a bit. And I think DeJounte Murray unfollowed the Spurs Instagram account. Like, what the hell is that? Like, the reason why the Spurs were so good when they were good was that, Timmy, Manu, and Tony, like, they were a team, right? It didn't matter who scored 20 points a game, or it didn't matter who was the player of the night. It didn't matter about that.
Why you sound so heartbroken, bro?
Bro, because I am.
my man's salty. Son.
I'm so salty right
Bad as
now.
hell.
I'm
Alright.
so salty right now, bro.
Bro.
Like, after everything that Kawhi did, bro, man's in his feels, bro.
Bro,
I am
I'm
Alright,
so
moving
mad,
on.
bro. He's
Marvin's room playing right now.
All right,
bro.
we're moving on, son.
All right,
How are we
move
feeling
on.
about Drummond?
I think he's gonna opt in, or I mean, he could also go the Gordon Hayward route and try to secure like a long-term deal somewhere else for slightly less per year. I'm not sure if that's really out there for him. The way he plays, up until this point, regardless of if it's on him or not, it hasn't really translated to success. I think he's only made the playoffs twice, and he's 0-8 in his career in the playoffs. So I think he's going to opt into his contract and look for like a long-term extension, or if he doesn't, he could opt out. But I think he's going to take that almost $30 million contract.
It would be dumb of him not to.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude can grab 20 boards, like, a game. At this point, like, he's basically the perfect my career player. Just, just get boards and, like, they're not going to necessarily complain about your production. All right, there's not much to say about him, but like this is the one I like the most in the player options category. Jeremy Grant. I always liked this dude since he was in like Philly, and then when he went to OKC eventually, and then now he's in Denver, right? So how are we feeling about him?
Great player. He would fit anywhere. He would fit anywhere.
Yeah, nowadays in modern NBA, he definitely would fit anywhere. He's very versatile. He can defend and he can shoot at a high rate. These are just my personal opinions of places that I think that he'd be really nice in. I'd love to see him go to the Clippers, the Warriors, or to the Mavs. That would just be awesome. Just seeing him go to either one of those teams on a high contending team. I don't know. Just a personal opinion. It would be nice to see him.
He's really
Yeah,
young.
exactly. He's a great player, man.
I think he should opt out because I think he's only getting like 9.3 mil if he opts in. So I think he could make a lot more money per year if he opts out, and for a longer deal as well. So yeah, I think any team that picks him up would be good to pick him up. So
all right, I think we went over like majority of the good free agents as well as player options players. So the one thing I kind of want to talk about now is something that I knew I want to try for this format is just talk about a few teams and how we're feeling about them. So I'll give you guys a few options. So you guys can either talk about Philly, Houston, Wizards, or how my man was going on and on about the Spurs. Fuck it, we're just doing the Spurs. Let's go Spurs.
Right, okay. No, I know somebody else had something to say about the Spurs, so I'm gonna let him speak. He been talking hella smack in the chat, bro. So speak your mind, brother.
Honestly, I don't got anything about the Spurs. They're gonna forever cement themselves as a lovable team, a team that everybody loves. But the thing is, it's a different era, and I think the main three problems with them is it's their coaching system, the players that they have, and they don't really have a plan for the future. So let's talk about their coaching system. So if you look at their team, so I'm not seeing the problems with Popovich. So just to clear that up. So if you look at their team, right? Because like I said, they're definitely well coached, right? So they're second in turnovers, which means that they have the second least amount of turnovers, but they're also first in assist to turnover ratio. So that just shows that they're a very, well coached team, and they play at a high rate. They're very efficient and they move the ball around. So just looking at that, that's great, right? But if you look at their system that they're playing in, they're fourth in 3-point percentage for shooting, right? So they shoot very efficiently, right? But they only shoot 26 in the league. So that means that they don't take the amount of shots that they need to take. This is a modern league where the three ball it means is very significant. It means so much more. You know what I'm saying, right? It means so much more than the two ball. And then the second problem is their players, right? They got players like DeRozan. They got players like Aldridge. These two guys are the best mid-range shooters in the NBA, or at least the top 5 best mid-range shooters in the NBA. They don't have they go to that. They go to the mid-range, which is always going to be less than worth way less than the 3, right? And on top of that, they don't play their young players at all, right? You got DeJounte Murray. He plays 25 minutes. You got Keldon Johnson.
Okay, calm out.
Wait, hear me out. You got Lonnie Walker, Derek White, and Bryn Forbes, and all of them play less than 25 minutes a game. So they don't really have a direction. They're relying on these veterans. Like Rudy Gay, DeRozan, Aldridge. You can't develop your players if you keep playing them at such a low rate. That's just my opinion.
Hey, are we really
Okay.
going to disrespect Jakob Poeltl right now?
Yo, okay, look. I'm gonna just say this, okay? Now they are leaning on LA and DeRozan like a lot, but they played Rudy Gay 21 minutes per game last season. What were you trying to say? They're abusing Rudy Gay. Second of all,
I'm not saying
Bryn Forbes, he's young. DeJounte Murray, young. Derek White, young. Right? They're playing 25 minutes per game because a lot of them are playing the point guard position. Now Lonnie Walker, and I've like this has happened with the Spurs every single season. This is just the way that Pop does it. He barely plays like the rookie of that year. He barely plays them like all garbage time. Second year, he picks up their activity. Third year is when he actually starts giving them time. I feel like this is just my this is speculation from me. I feel like Greg Popovich knew. He was like, this team is not good enough to get into the finals. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let these guys, hash it out. I'm gonna let them play for a specific amount of time so that everyone can get some type of experience into the game. Right. I think that's what Greg Popovich was going for.
Nah, honestly, I just think it's Spurs don't have a franchise player, so they're just waiting for that franchise player to show up, and then they'll go from there. But yeah, I don't think they're doing much with the current roster, and I don't think you can blame the players or the coach. It's just they just don't have that player that can take them over to become a contender.
I can agree with that. But like I said, I just feel like the team is underdeveloped. They're really young. DeJounte Murray, like he's a good defender. He's not the best shooter. Okay, and like I said, the whole ego thingy. Like DeMar DeRozan, he's a good ball player, right? And DeJounte Murray, he wants the ball in his hand a lot of the time. So I feel like it's just they need to get their egos in check.
Well,
Because
let's hope that they do, and let's hope Spurs become contenders soon, because it's always amazing to see them be up there with the rest of the league.
Right,
Dude,
right.
yeah, I think we spent 40 minutes of this damn thing just
The
talking
whole
about the
podcast
Spurs.
was about the Spurs.
All right, let's just stop talking about them.
And the Knicks.
Yes. All right.
Right. So bottom line is a lot of what Aray was saying was facts, but like Spurs got a lot of work to do. All
Yes,
right,
they do.
let's go ahead.
All right, Philly or Houston, whichever one you want to go first.
Philly. Let's do Philly, bro.
Let's go, Kyle.
Because
I know you got something. I know you got something,
Yeah.
Kyle.
They got a new coach, the best coach in the league.
So
Kyle's favorite coach. Sorry.
the latest news that came out of Philly was them hiring Daryl Morey as their president of basketball ops. So I mean, you can say what you want about him, that he never won, but he was consistently making the playoffs regardless of the team he had. He was in Houston for a long time. He had Yao and Tracy McGrady, and once they started getting injured and kind of weren't like the same all-star level players, he had like a team of just like solid players that made the playoffs consistently. Then he got James Harden, and from there it's really you've seen the results. James Harden's become a top 5 or 6 player, and they've always always made the playoffs consistently, made the Western Conference Finals. And if Chris Paul hadn't gotten hurt, I think they would have won the championship that year. And then, so one weird thing though is that the president of basketball ops usually picks his head coach. Doc Rivers was hired before Mike D'Antoni was hired, and it's kind of weird because Daryl Morey, everybody knows he's very heavy in analytics, and in Houston that meant shooting a lot of threes. In Philadelphia, that might look very different because the roster is very different. Doc is he's very stubborn, and he struggles to really innovate or make in-game adjustments. It's kind of weird because one of the reasons Doc was let go from the Clippers was because he wouldn't listen to his coaching staff in terms of analytics. When they told him that Zubac he's playing better than Trez, maybe you should play him more, he didn't listen. When he was told not to play Reggie Jackson, Lou Williams, and Montrezl Harrell together, he played them together, and that was like just a really, really bad defensive lineup. So there was a lot of things that led to Doc being fired from there, but one of the main reasons was he wouldn't listen to like analytics based numbers, and results kind of spoke for themselves. Elton Brand's pretty bad at his job. He's made some very questionable decisions. Obviously, he traded for Jimmy Butler, which I still think was a good move, but then you turn around and traded him for Josh Richardson, sorry. I mean, everybody knows about the Horford contract, the Tobias Harris trade. They traded Landry Shaman, Mike Muscala, Wilson Chandler for Tobias Harris, and they also traded some picks away. The Tobias Harris contract might be one of the worst it's probably like a top 3 worst contract in the league. In the playoffs, once Ben Simmons got hurt, they didn't really have any initiators, and nobody could really throw Joel Embiid like a a pass into the post. They had Trey Burke at the start of the year, but then they waived him, and he actually played pretty well for Dallas. Their roster is very weird. Their contract situation isn't great. So I'm kind of rambling, but
okay.
Go ahead.
No, so do we still trust the process or no?
There is no process. The process has been done. It's now Daryl Morey's time. I think Daryl Morey, he's always able to get deals done. So I think in terms of that, I think he can move the team around a little bit. It's good. It's going to be tough for sure because the contracts are horrible. But
they're gonna need a fucking miracle, dude.
Honestly, like one thing, I feel like everyone knows this is like the situation with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Like both phenomenal players, right? I feel like their playing styles kind of mess with each other. If I'm gonna like,
Ben Simmons has got to shoot those threes. That's
it. Or shoot it all.
I kind of think that the Simmons and Embiid thing is kind of overblown because ever since their rookie year that they played together when they lost to Boston in 5 in the second round, they haven't really had like an ideal fit team around them. And I don't mean to keep harping on like the Doc Rivers thing, but he's probably going to continue to play the best players, regardless of if those best players fit together correctly. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to play Al Horford and Joel Embiid together, and play Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and Al Horford at the same time. When they have some guys who can shoot and space the floor, like Shake Milton and Furkan Korkmaz, they also do need to sign some winged shooters, like Buddy Hield's in the trade talks, or he's in trade rumors with them. James Harden, which is kind of interesting, but I doubt Houston blows it up. That's another team we could talk about. So I really think they need to get some shooting depth or change up their roster.
Buddy Hield for Tobias Harris wouldn't be a bad idea.
Oh no, dude, they would. I don't think anybody's trading for Tobias Harris.
Kyle, I know you got a lot to say about this. What do you think about a certain player named Drew Holiday on the Philadelphia 76ers?
He would be interesting there.
How would they get him?
Yeah, exactly. I think the teams that have the best chances to get him. This seems like the most intriguing player packages they can send. Miami, they can send Tyler Hero and some other pieces.
Hell no.
If what's it called? Denver, if they decide to include Michael Porter Jr., he's still like a very big question mark, but he might be very intriguing.
I don't think he would fit with Pelicans though. They have Brandon Ingram, so
yeah, that's a good point. But he's like his ceiling, if he ever reaches it, is insane. Is like very high.
I feel like the Heat wouldn't want to trade Tyler Hero. They should.
I would do it for Drew Holiday.
Yo, you know where I would see Drew Holiday at? Yo, Brooklyn Nets. So hear me out, right? So
Oh,
you could trade. No, I'm not gonna roast the Nets or anything like that, man. I think it'd be a nice fit because the Nets are gonna be contending, right? So and this would address their problem if they do plan to play KD at the 5. They can send over maybe Jared Allen and Karis LeVert, right? Those are two very solid players, right? And with those two solid players, Pelicans can make use of them, right? So I don't know. I think it's just a win-win situation for both sides. The Nets will be able to compete, and the Pelicans will be able to build their talent and their roster at the same time.
I mean, I don't know how we got sidetracked like that. Shit.
Okay.
Okay.
Last
Well,
team. Last
what's
team was the Rockets, right?
it's either the Rockets or the Wizards. Whichever one sounds, I guess.
Let me talk about the Wizards. I feel like no one's really talking about them, but
That's true.
when John Wall was in his prime, oh my god, I love this dude. He was like a young D Wade.
Phenomenal.
He was great defensively. He was super quick. He was like Russell Westbrook almost. He was the Russell Westbrook of the East. At that time, and I just can't wait to see him back on the court. I think. Well, the East isn't that heavily stacked, so I think the Wizards can make a playoff push. I don't know if they have the enough players around like John Wall and Bradley Beal to like actually become contenders. But I'm so excited to see John Wall back. And him and Bradley Beal together is going to be amazing.
I think
Yeah.
they need to add some defensive players. They were like a bottom 3 defense last year. They would get into these like high scoring games, but they wouldn't be able to stop anybody. I remember like at the start of the season they played against Houston and the final score was like 160 to like 158, like some insane number. And I don't even remember if it went to like an overtime or not. But they need to definitely pick up some defensive players. Kelly Oubre Jr. would be good on this team, even though it's kind of funny because he was on this team and they traded him for like 1 year of Trevor Ariza. They need to get some defense definitely to shore up the team.
Maybe they can trade for Drummond. I don't know. That doesn't sound like a bad idea to me.
I mean, they have Thomas Bryant, and he's not too bad, right?
Oh, that is true.
and
Yeah,
Thomas
but Bryant was good.
Bertans.
And
Yeah,
they've also
we
got
signed
one player I really like the Wizards that the Wizards have is Rui Hachimura. He's awesome, yo. Like a lot of people like to compare him to Kawhi. I'm not gonna go there yet, but I can definitely see him developing over time. I'm not sure the Wizards have that time span, but I can definitely see him becoming a defensive anchor kind of. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah,
Don't
Rui
sleep on the
Hachimura.
Wizards.
Yeah. But
Uh,
what I'm looking forward to is that interesting dynamic, dude. Because like when John Wall got injured, right, it was all Bradley Beal's show. Before that, it was mostly John Wall's show, right? So I want to see, are they gonna mesh together and make the Bradley Beal and John Wall show, or are they gonna like totally like mess up the team? If they can get it together, like if they play properly and like no egos are involved or anything like that, and they play like a team, I feel like Wizards would be phenomenal this year.
Well, I mean, yeah, it could be like a Dame and CJ kind of thing, and
100%. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. I mean, John Wall's not that much of a shooter, but yeah, I can see that
uh,
happening.
yeah. All right. Let's kind of wrap this up, but I really want to get in. What is it? I think we were
The 2K ratings.
2K ratings. All right. How are we feeling about the ratings of 2K, y'all? Somebody say something.
Okay. I have one take. Okay. I don't know. These ratings are kind of weird. They rated, Klay Thompson, who didn't play at all last year, right? They rated him 89, right? But they rated Paul George and Paul George an 88, and Devin Booker an 88, and Bradley Beal an 88. And I feel like there's something weird going on. I might be totally wrong. They rated Nikola Jokic a 90, right? And they also gave Jason Tatum a 90. So I want to hear your thoughts, man. Like,
you know what? I don't know why people are still buying NBA 2K. They haven't really done anything big with the game. They started like adding like advertisements in between games. I don't know what that was about. I'm
oh
just
yeah,
so sick of 2K. Like I think they have to like add some kind of matchmaking. There's a lot of work that they need to do with the game itself. So I don't
Mhm.
even care about the ratings. I'm just disappointed in the game.
I think it's kind of like the whole Call of Duty situation, right? Like like the people at Activision, they know people are gonna buy our game. They know that, And I feel like the same thing is happening with 2K, where they know people are gonna buy their game. Right? Like it's always like the same advertisement where they show like a regular player from the previous season, right? And then they show the same player like sweaty in the next game.
Bruh.
And it's like, and it's like, the best, like, oh, the graphics improved so much. But yeah, I mean that's just my take. So are we gonna talk about the game or are we gonna talk about the ratings?
Yeah, so let me just jump on that. So quick shout out to my boy Cole. He's the one that gave us an idea for this. So when I'm looking at these ratings, I don't see a consistency on what they're doing. So
Right.
it's like, what are they evaluating these players on? Is it their potential for the season? Is it from the previous year of play, or like what is it? So I'm like looking at the roster, right? So we've got Luka at 94, and I'm not ready to say he's a 94 yet. I'd even drop him down to like,
What?
dude,
Really?
if okay, listen,
Hot take.
he's
Okay.
he's a great player and I love him, right? But I can't see him being like a 94 yet. If they're basing off potential, then maybe. But it's weird, right? So if you look at Paul George
My man was
Is
dropping
Luka
triple
better
doubles,
than
bro.
Dame? Is Luka better than Dame?
right now,
I think so.
No.
Yeah, right now.
I think so.
I
Okay,
think so.
see,
I'm not gonna say anything. Like, this is
it's
John's
hard,
take.
man. It's hard, but
I think I
all
believe so. I think he's better than Dame. I'm pretty
right,
sure
but hear
Kyle
me
can put
out.
in some input.
All right, hear me out. Who's the better playmaker? Right, we're gonna go with Luka, right?
Okay.
But Dame's not a bad playmaker.
Right.
Then we've got who's the better 3-point shooter, and that's by far Dame. By
Okay.
far.
Okay.
Right? Luka's not even a good 3-point shooter. I'm gonna tell you guys that straight up. He just makes a lot of good shots at good times, but he shoots at the low 30 percentage, right?
Okay.
And then on top of that, right, who are you gonna trust more for the final shot?
Ooh, I would trust both of them, man. That's a hard one to say.
I would trust both of them, right? But
Dame
Dame
time,
has that.
yeah, Dame time. You're right, Dame time.
Time
See
out. Okay.
where wait, listen. Where it comes down to is their experience. Dame is that. I'm not like, is he a veteran yet? Maybe, yeah. I guess he's played for a while now.
100%.
So I think it goes down to that. That's just my opinion, though. So see,
okay,
wait, listen. Let me get to my point. My fault. So if we're having a hard time deciding whether to have Dame or Luka, like you can't have a 4-point difference. They're either got to be the same or they got to be within a point or two. That's just my take.
Okay, so one thing I don't understand, okay? Like Zion Williamson, how many games did he play last season? Like 15, right? His team didn't make the playoffs, okay? And he's rated an 86.
He played more than 15.
He played very few games, bro. Like I can't even remember.
I got you. I
And
know what
people were still trying to make a case for him trying to be the rookie of the year. And it just made no sense, right? But on top of that, you look at Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown was phenomenal last season, and he's only rated an 86. This is sus. Like, it makes no sense to put Zion Williamson, who barely played a quarter of the season, right, at the same level as Jaylen Brown. Experience-wise, Jaylen Brown has a lot more experience. If we're talking about potential, that's where you can make the argument for potential. Zion Williamson could be a phenomenal player, and we already know in college he was a phenomenal player. We know in the games that he did play, he was a great player. But it just doesn't make sense to put Jaylen Brown at an 86. I think they did like a huge discredit to Jaylen Brown.
It's no hype. It's a game at the end of the day. I don't think we should deep it. It's just all publicity's done to like lower or like higher the ratings of the players. I don't think it's that deep.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's just a game. We're taking this with like, a grain of salt. But yeah, I agree.
For sure. All right,
yo,
my man.
let me just say one. Let me say one thing though. I've like after this conversation, I've kind of got a feeling of what they rate these players on. It might be hype. That's what I think it might be. Now that I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
I got one more, and I'm gonna definitely get I'm gonna get some flack for this one, and I don't care. I don't think Russell Westbrook should be an 88 overall. I think if we're based off like the attributes and like the sum of whole, that Russ is not like really a good shooter. He's not a good defender. He's not the best playmaker. He turns the ball over a lot. Decision making isn't great. I think Russell Westbrook should be like an 85 or an 86. Chris Paul is an 88, and I mean, Chris Paul is probably like a lot better than, not a lot better, but he's probably better than Russell Westbrook is right now.
You're high.
So I would put Russ at 85.
What are you smoking right now? What are you smoking right now?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What I mean? Pascal Siakam's 88, and you're saying Russell Westbrook's not supposed to be an 88? Come on now.
How good do you think Russell Westbrook
rating
is?
system's like garbage. It's so trash.
He
Like,
was
what is it?
putting
What is
up
it basing these
MVP
ratings on?
numbers during the season. I don't know how you guys forget that. Like, once playoff time comes around, everyone just forgets about the season. Like, Russell Westbrook is still an amazing player. Yeah, sure, he has a lot of flaws, but that doesn't mean he's not a good player.
Oh, I think everyone can agree that he's a good player for sure. But like, I feel like there comes a time where like just stats shouldn't be the thing that you look at. Like, how do those stats translate into winning?
Let me tell you some players who are 85: Andre Drummond, T.J. Warren, John Collins, Sabonis,
Okay.
Levine, Van Fleet. Like, you're telling me Westbrook isn't better than any of these players?
Okay. Look at that. Look at if we're going by ratings, like Russell Westbrook, what would his 3-point rating be? He shot like 30% from three this year. That should be pretty low. He's not a good defensive player. His defensive rating should be pretty low. Add up like the sum of the parts. I don't think Russell Westbrook adds up to an 88 overall player.
Well, if we're talking about it that way, then you might as well bump down everybody's ratings and keep only like LeBron and Giannis on the top. Like that's how you're talking about it. I think the ratings are fine as they are. Like, some players should be a little bit higher, but I don't think anyone should be lower than where they're at. That's my opinion.
I think we got to agree to disagree on that one then.
All right.
Okay. All right. I disagree. I disagree. Okay,
All right. I think we should wrap it up with this one.
Yes, sir.
I think we're gonna have to wrap it up with the podcast too. So if you guys want to interact with us, you can follow us on our socials. We're in the works of getting you guys involved into our podcast and on our podcast, kind of like a call-in feature. So if you're interested into that, you can email us at eastcoastbrowncast@gmail.com. If you want to get your comments or questions featured on our podcast, you can comment on our YouTube, and we'll select the best ones and give you guys our inputs on your inputs. And our channel name is the East Coast Browncast. And be sure to follow us on the Instagram. It's at ECBcast, so you can follow us there. We're gonna have a lot of content coming in the future.